What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another WARFRAME video. So we got the maximum loot strategy for the Belly of the Beast event today, and with these strategies you'll be getting the most loot possible from this new mission. The strategies we're using, you'll be getting up to 4 arcanes from slaying out the mini-boss in this new mission, and also this is doubling up, or quadrupling the steel essence too, so you're going to get steel essence as well. So we got, as you see in the screenshot right now, 4 arcanes, 16 steel essence, and a bunch of other junk. So we'll be talking about the Belly of the Beast event and what strategies and builds I'm using and what I'd recommend to you. I'm going to show you everything about this event that you might want to know. So let's get right into it. Before we do that, make sure you're subbed to this channel because we do daily WARFRAME video uploads. You don't want to miss any of the good uploads on this channel. And yeah, just because I'm showing the stuff we're using today, the things in this video might get nerfed, so I'm not entirely sure if this will stay the meta, because this event will be around for like an entire month. Yeah, what is this event? So you're going to be doing the Ascension game mode, and you'll be getting these volatile motes to bring over to Ordis and to buy, like, arcanes. So an Arcane Avenger is 5 volatile motes each. You can only get up to 42. So if I was to buy these 42 Arcane Avengers, that would be it for me with Arcane Avengers for this event. And same thing for, like, other arcanes. If I want to get, like, Arcane Aegis, those 42 Arcane Aegis, that's all I get for the entire event. So be aware of that. So 4 for the gold ones, 3 for the silver ones, and 1 for the bronze ones. Now, I am going to be using one of these bronze arcanes in the builds today, but it's not the only arcane you can use. So there's plenty of other things too. So up here, you've also got these ephemeras. So these ephemeras will be unlocked for a team-wide or a community-wide effort. If we grind this event enough, we're going to be unlocking the maximum version of this ephemera. And additionally, if you're in a clan, you get access to these other drops right here, such as Energizes. Yes, they're apparently supposed to be 46 motes each. Yeah. And then you got Barrier and Grace, too. Probably only worth getting Energized, honestly. Barrier and Grace are, like, hardly worth anything. But yeah, you go over to Ordis, and you can also turn in the... So for the non-event, the Vestigial motes, these are also going to drop from this mission, and they're going to be also turned in for these, like, Arcane Ice Storms and parts for Jade. Now, to clarify this event on day 1 was only dropping Endo, and that was unintended. Now it's dropping the other items. It's dropping everything that you see here besides Jade's main blueprint. Jade's main blueprint is apparently not intended to drop here, guys. So, the intended way of obtaining Jade for the second time, after you get the one from the story quest, is to turn in 450 of these Vestigial motes to get the Jade blueprint, okay? So keep that in mind, that if you grind this event, you will not get the main Jade blueprint. You get one main Jade blueprint from the quest, and the second one you have to either, probably actually only from this. You have to turn those Vestigial motes. That's how it's supposed to work. So let's get into the strategies and how you get the maximum loot from this event, and also how Ascension game mode works. Alright, so as far as how this is going to work with this event, if you've played Ascension, it's basically just going to be a little bit kind of like alchemy. There is going to be... So to summon the special lich mini-boss to get the extra arcane, what you want to do is you want to find these 3 sister beacons. I'm actually going to take us through a full run right now. We can just talk about how this happens. So here we are at the beginning of the mission. You just basically jump over to this objective thing and it starts up automatically. So it's like I think it's like a 1.5 or a 2-minute timer. This is where you can just be really, for a lot of this mission, you can just be super lazy. Just stand there. Now, the Jade Eximus laser, yeah, I take it back actually. I think on the current hotfix around right now, the Jade Eximus laser might be glitched to be doing like 10 times damage, because I had Total Eclipse up right there for 75% DR, and I had like 900 health, and it killed me with what looked like 1 tick of damage. And the other day, that Jade laser was doing like 100 damage, so there might be a little bit more damage being dropped on us than it's actually supposed to, but maybe it's intended, because on day 1, that laser was going through Mesmer Skin. It's currently not going through Mesmer Skin anymore. But yeah, if you just kind of like want to stand around, be aware that the Jade Eximus laser will insta-kill you. So you have to be a little bit more cautious today than you were on day 1. But yeah, to make sure the Eximus laser is going to be not as big of a problem, we've got Silence Helmet ability on one of our Nekros players. As far as the best helmets for this event, Silence is the #1 helmet for this event, because the event is just a Jade Eximus fiesta, basically. Now, to find those sister beacons to summon the Lich, just go along the elevator shaft and go find the blue... Actually, it can be easier to even hear it. You'll hear this really loud, like, beeping noise. You'll be able to hear it from quite far away. Once you go find it, go grab that sister beacon, and that will summon the sister lich at the top of the elevator when you get there. Now, to just do the mission as normal, go find the 2 types of power cells to power up the elevator. There is the really, extremely glowy ones. Those ones will overcharge the elevator and make it move faster for about 15 seconds. And there's the non-overcharged power cells that drop from enemies, and those are going to be just making they're going to increase the power level of the elevator. They're not going to make it get overcharged right here. So the overcharged ones will be spawning in the environment, kind of nearby wherever the elevator currently is at. So what you want to do is you want to get as many of those as possible, because whenever you have this elevator overcharge, it's moving at like double the speed, and it will make the mission take less time. So basically just jump around nearby where the elevator is, and then look for those green icons on the map. It will be about, I think it's like a 15-20 meter radius before it will mark it for you. Once you grab that overcharge power cell, I'd say don't throw it at the thing unless it's not currently overcharged, or if it's at 30% power. If it's at 0% power, just throw any power cell at it. You want this thing to be constantly moving. But yeah, if you have a bunch of extra power cells, a good thing to do as a team is to just bring them over to the elevator and drop them on the elevator. Dropping them on the elevator just means that if anyone's paying attention, they can throw that at the elevator when it needs power. So, big thing about power cells here, nearby where the elevator is, within a couple floors is where the overcharger will be, and then the normal ones will just be dropping from enemies throughout the mission. So this part, pretty straightforward. Parkour velocity can be good to jump around here easier. WUkong is not currently the meta because what we're doing right now is the meta. Maximum loot abilities is the meta of this event. They might patch it out, but we'll see. So just do this stuff as normal. I've got a Phenmor with a blast Tox Build to kill these Xmas really easily. Your main focus should be finding the overcharger cells and just kind of staying alive. If you don't have silence active, there's a lot of Jade Xmas lasers, so just be aware that those Jade Xmas do a lot of damage on the current patch. So see, we ran out of power cells here. That's because we were being pretty lazy, to be honest. So if you're constantly jumping around finding the overchargers, you should not be running out of energy like we did right there. But you know what? It's a pretty boring event, so we're just gonna do what we want to do. So now it's at fully overcharged. See that? If you see that little arrow on the little movement meter, that means the elevator is currently overcharged, going at twice the speed. So you're just going to keep doing this until you get to the top of the elevator, and then once you get to the top of the elevator, that's when the true strats begin. So, okay, we are on the final floor of the elevator here. What do you want to do when you get to the final floor? Well, to do the strategies we're doing today, everybody get to the left side of the elevator and put up your loot abilities. So we've got Pilfering Strangledom for Khora, and we've got Desecrate from Nekros. Additionally, we have the Chesa Kubrow, the Kubrow with the ability. It's called, well, mine's Nekros Jr., but it's actually got the ability called Retrieve from the Kubrow that will make it where you can get even more loot. And this lich right here, the sister lich, is the one dropping the Steel Essence and dropping the Arcanes. This is on the Steel Path version of this. So just lock her down so she can't move around. Silence will disable her abilities, so it's just going to be like a generic enemy, basically. So once all that stuff's said and done, make sure your abilities are active, your loot abilities are active, and you should be walking away with 4 Arcanes, like you see on the screen right now. 4 unidentified items. So I'm going to show you all the stuff. Now, I did mention most of the stuff we used, but I actually forgot to mention one thing. We also have the Ripkas melee weapon. So once you do that, once you get your 4 Arcanes from the Lich, just walk to the extraction, escort the thing. If this objective goes, and dies, it does not fail the mission, funny enough. It just has to repair itself. So the loot cave was patched out yesterday. There was a loot cave in these doors yesterday. But yeah, let's go over all the builds now that we've talked about how the mission's actually going to work. It's a pretty straightforward mission. Oh, additionally, in that first room, right when the objective starts, use your Aurican Eye scanner because there's a lot of Ayatan sculpture spawn spots in that first room. It's a really small area, so you'll be able to find Ayatan sculptures pretty reliably, I'd say. All right, so and also you can see right there the extraction capsule functional. That's because the thing died and it repaired itself. You do not need to really defend this thing at all. All right, let's get into what we have as far as builds. Now, I am going to go over what I used. I'm not saying this is the mod for mod, the only things you can do, the only way you can do this. I'm just showing this as a way that you can do this. And as far as the frames, I'm going to recommend that your team has 2 Khoras and 2 Nekros Prime. Well, Nekros Prime, Khora Prime. It could be normal version, obviously, but the main thing is you want to have those frames, and you want to have the what was this thing called? The Chesa Kubrow, okay? So this is what your team should have. 4 Chesa Kubrows, 2 Khora Primes, 2 Nekros Primes. That's how you can get 4 Arcanes. Now, it is RNG. If you get extremely, extremely unlucky, you could actually get 1 Arcane from this. Even with all the strategies in today, even with everything going for you, you can get 1 Arcane. okay? But it's technically a lower chance that to happen. You should be getting between between 4 and 3 arcanes with these strategies today. Alright, so here's the build I was using on Khora. Now, I do have an invigoration for power, strength, and parkour velocity, but it doesn't really affect the build at all because I'm using Eclipse, and Eclipse is capped at 75% DR anyway. That's right, we're using Total Eclipse for the damage reduction portion of it. Now, you could go into damage mode when you're damaging the Lich, but yeah, we're just mainly in tank mode stats for this, just to make it where the enemies can't kill us as easily. Now the Jade Xmas laser is going a little bit crazier than before. This build doesn't work as well, but you're still, we still got Rolling Guard. If the Jade Xmas catches you on fire, just Rolling Guard to turn out the fire proc. Adaptation for normal enemies, and Eclipse 75% DR. Total Eclipse works for your teammates too, so they'll be getting more tanky if they're nearby me. You got Arcane Aegis, so if my shield breaks, I can get Arcane Aegis to just be invincible for a little bit. The build doesn't really matter as much. The only thing you actually really need on this is going to be Pilfering Strangledome Augment mod. Strangledome Augment. Enemies held in the Strangledome have a 65% chance of dropping an additional loot. That's how you can get your extra arcanes and get your extra Steel Essence from this boss. Now, as far as what's the most Steel Essence for you, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that if you bring the Smita Kavat, you could potentially get more Steel Essence than we do, but the Smita Kavat does not give you more arcanes. It only gives you more Steel Essence. As far as the Archon shards here, for jumping around in the elevator, I've got 5 Parkour Velocity Tau shards. Now, you do get a Parkour Velocity buff in the mission that's separate from this, but might as well just go full craziness. And as far as the Arcanes, Arcane Aegis to make it where we can just be invincible sometimes, but also Arcane Consequence. On headshot, 60% Parkour Velocity for 18 seconds. The way this mission plays, you are killing some enemies here and there during the elevator section, so getting a headshot for some extra movement speed or extra parkour velocity can be nice for jumping back and forth between all these areas to find the overcharger cells. And it's a very similar arcane setup on Nekros, but I'll show that for sure. As far as my DPS weapon on the Sister, I've got the Phenmor. Why am I using the Phenmor? Well, mainly because we have the new full auto setting for guns in Warframe. How do you turn that on? We can turn semi-automatic weapons into full auto. Just go to your options, search the word fire. Fire manual trigger weapons continuously. Set this setting to on, and you will have a full auto Phenmor now, and a full auto burst, and a full auto dual tox, and so on and so forth. So I got the Phenmor, and as far as the Incarnons, we got the anti-crit Incarnons on this thing, and it works pretty well. It's just basically meant to be killing level 140 Corpus Eximus in one bullet. It's also very good for DPSing the Lich, too. Now, as far as the build, I've got Bane of the Corpus, and I've got I've got Blast, Toxin. Now that Blast procs have been buffed, they're pretty nice. And Toxin still bypasses enemy shields, so that can be very, very nice. If you don't have a Riven for this, the build will be a little bit different, but you need to make sure you have 2 elemental mods on here to get that Toxin and that Cold. But you'd probably replace Fast Hands and the Riven with like a Cold mod and a Toxin mod to do that. Prime Fast Hands just lets you transform Incarnon forms faster. It takes a long time without Prime Fast Hands. 2.8 seconds to transform into Incarnon, or 1.8 seconds. I think I'd rather go with 1.8 seconds here. But yeah, very nice here. Blast Toxin is actually a pretty decent combination for the Corpus. And yeah, you get the Blast Proc can AoE kill enemies sometimes too, which is kind of nice. That's my Phenmor for DPS and the Lich. The Dual Tox can also DPS the Lich, but this was definitely not feeling as good. We got a magnetic build on here, and I was just kind of messing around with it. I used this for Jade level 10,000 last night, different build. Okay, so this is something that you probably... I'm not saying you have to have this equipped, but I'm telling you that if you want to be in my squads and be the most meta possible, you want to have the Ripkas equipped. The Ripkas, yes, this is not used for DPS. This is used for literally just to have this Amalgam Ripkas True Steel mod. Why do we have this mod equipped? Well, it seems like this does dismember the Lich when you get the last hit. Now, this dismemberment gore chance thing will work for any weapon that the user has equipped. So you could get the last hit on that Lich with your Phenmor, and it will still count for Amalgam Ripkas. But yeah, basically, make sure everyone on your team has the Ripkas equipped, and make sure they have the Amalgam Ripkas True Steel mod. When using this is giving us 4 Arcanes. If you don't have this, I can't guarantee any 4 Arcanes for you, unfortunately. But the entire build is literally just to make it where it's attack speed. So I can just get a dispatch override attack, heavy attack off to get more movement speed. So we got parkour velocity from our frame, and we got movement speed buff from dispatch override. We'll be moving quite quick, jumping around, grabbing those power cells. But yeah, biggest thing here, just make sure you got Amalgam Ripkas True Steel. You could have literally no mods at all. As long as you have Amalgam Ripkas True Steel, you're good to go. Now, as far as the dog, and I've got Zenorek Focus Treatise for easy energy regen. But as far as the dog, this is probably one that most people don't really have. But I'm going to tell you right now that if you want 4 Arcanes, bring this doggo. We've got the Chesa Kubrow. And as far as the build, the most important mod is going to be the Retrieve mod. Kubrow has a 45% chance to scavenge additional loot from a fallen enemy within 30 meters every 10 seconds. Now, ideally, to make this as consistent as possible, during the Lich fight, you don't want to have any other dead enemies, because another enemy dying will consume this once every 10 seconds loot buffer thing. So, ideally, only have the Lich dead at the time. That means that no Desecrates will hit other enemies, no Kubrows will go for other enemies, only the Lich will be desecrated. So that's what you kind of want, but I mean, that's kind of hard to tell people to do that, so. But yeah, either way, Retrieve is going to be like an extra Desecrate for you, and it will give you more loot. It'll give everybody more loot for that matter. The rest of the build is just to keep the doggo alive. We got shield regen, we got Loyal Companion to keep us alive, because the Jade Xmas Laser is like probably bugged right now. When your health falls below 35%, and gain 75% DR, and you'll become your companion becomes invincible and draws fire to itself for 10 seconds, 60-second cooldown. I haven't even tried this, but it seems like it would work pretty well. But the main thing is just to make sure you're staying alive. This thing's staying alive. So that's going to be the Kubrow and the Khora build and the Ripkas and all that. Let's go over the Nekros setup. Now, the most important thing, like I said earlier, is that we have the Silence Helmet on somebody. And we got the Silence Helmet on Nekros. This will disable the Jade Xmas lasers. Very, very, very important for this. Now, as far as the build doesn't really matter that much, because it's just a kind of casual mission, honestly. I've currently got a extremely high range build on Nekros here, and we've got Arcane Grace to regen health, and we've got just a lot of range. This range for Silence is 53 meters, so every Jade Xmas that is nearby us should be silenced, just be a normal enemy, basically. And additionally, this will work pretty well on the Lich, making them so they can't cast their abilities. Now, for Khora, I didn't mention this, but Ensnare on Khora will stun the Lich. So that's going to be probably one of the ways we're going to do that. We're going to put the Strangledomes, then we're going to put the Ensnares, and the Lich will not be able to move. But yeah, the rest of this stuff, it doesn't even matter. Just as long as you have Desecrate active, this will give you more loot from the Lich. Everything else is just to have more range, because you can cover more area with your Silence. Really, guys, you have flexibility on this. Just make sure you have the Silence ability, and make sure you have Desecrate active when the Lich is going to die. Yeah, that's going to be basically my Nekros build. Now, as far as other helmets you could run on this, I'd say that the number 1 is going to be Silence. Number 2 could be like, you know, Eclipse for DR for everybody, for total Eclipse. Roar for big damage. Nourish for like viral and damage. There's plenty of options here. You could even have somebody with Ensnare on your team, as if you don't have a Khora maybe, you could have someone with Ensnare Helmet to stun the Lich. So the Lich shouldn't be really a problem. As far as the DPS weapon on Nekros, I was using the Phenmor as well. As you can see, I have like pretty much the exact same builds on my other stuff. Like, I got the Ripkas equipped, I've got the Phenmor equipped, I've got the Kubrow equipped. Everyone on this team should have similar gear equipped, but different frames and like different DPS weapons. You don't have to have the same DPS weapon, but yeah, everybody having this is what you need. Okay, so let's go over some other stuff in the mission that we can talk about, like, you know, little details. Now, you could bring like an Ancient Healer Spectre to get some DR against those lasers. You could bring a Dante Spectre to get some Overguard against those lasers. You can bring your Elite on Call to take care of a bunch of trash ads. That could be pretty nice, extra DPS. But yeah, the main thing is just making sure that everyone has their loot abilities active. Make sure everybody has the actual, loot gear active that we're using for this. And then moving forward, you know, like, here's the biggest thing actually. Don't get mad at me when I show you 4 arcanes and you get 1 arcane, because I try to make it quite clear that it is RNG, okay? Just because we got 4 arcanes of the strategy doesn't mean it does not. I'll tell you right now, it does not happen every time. We have had runs with this exact setup where we get 1 arcane. Now, as far as a solo squad, a solo player with Ripkas on Nekros can get 3 arcanes. A squad with Chesa and, like, you know, Khora and Nekros can get 4 arcanes. So, really going to be up to you if this is worth farming to you. I've already gotten every single arcane maxed out from, like, the new ones. Like, I've gotten the Overguard arcane maxed out, the Ice arcane maxed out. All of them are maxed out. So I just have, like, and I have, like, probably, like, 5 R5 of the new arcanes ready to go if I want to sell them. But the funny thing is that the arcanes are, like, dirt cheap. They're, like, 30 plat for an R5. So they're not really even worth farming or selling, for that matter. You're basically doing this to get Jade parts and to get arcanes you don't have. So that's great, though. Doing the strategy, you'll get the arcanes quicker than ever. 4 per. I mean, that's like, you can get a maxed out arcane, like, what, 5 runs, basically, if you got 4 every time. So that's pretty good. This event will be around for a month, too, so not really a big rush. Additionally, for the clan part of this event, there doesn't seem to be anything in the clan dojo that you have to do. All this stuff happens to Ortis happens with Ortis on the Mercury relay. Okay, so that's basically gonna be it for the video, guys. Hope you find it fun, helpful. Now, as far as finding the sister beacons, they do have set spawn locations, so it's gonna take a little bit of getting used to. But I'd say make sure every time that you get those 3 sister beacons. Some of them are troll spawn spots, but you'll learn it over time as you're grinding this event. So, see you guys next time. If you have any more questions, feel free to post them in the comments down below. Basically, everything in the video that is the things I use in this. I don't really feel like there's too much build crafting needed besides just stay alive and make sure you have the loot abilities active for your 4 arcanes. Alright, guys. See you next time. Peace.